at this, guys. Oh my goodness. Water runoff. A few minutes of storming. And look at this swale. Oh, we haven't had rain. Like decent rain. It must have been like 5 months. It's almost full. Hey guys, Amanda here. Just wanted to jump in super quick and say we've got video of us out splashing around in the swale as it was raining. We're about to show you it, but the audio is not really great. The iPhone didn't handle the rain and the splashes very well at all. But I know you guys would rather see it than for us just not to publish it at all. Now, a few weeks ago, we gave you guys an update on our end of summer swale. Everything was dry, dead. We wanted to reflect on what we felt worked well for our first swale and what didn't. And if you guys had any ideas about what we could do moving forward, either with that swale or additional swales, what we'd love to do after this piece of footage is Corey and I would love to talk through some of the suggestions that people offered. And it'd be interesting to see, now that you've witnessed what happens during one of these kind of rain events, whether your suggestion would be similar or you are more convinced than ever that that would be the right move for us. This is kind of late summer. It's technically autumn here, but it's late summer, early autumn. It's not unusual to get rain events during this time of year. Our last big flood that washed out our driveway crossover was in March 2021. And we've got footage of the crossover as well, but I might either pop that in a separate video or maybe put it at the end of this one. We'll see. And just make sure you hang around afterwards for our like swale chat. Holy cow. This is amazing. Try not to get struck by lightning. Oh, look at it running down over the crossover. Interesting. Let's just... Okay, so the drain underneath the crossover is working well. Look how full that is. That looks insane. Oh. And all the water just gently dripping over that edge. Oh. Coming out this side. Not up to the spillway yet though. What do you think about that? iPhones are waterproof, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
How deep is it? Go stand in it. Don't slip.
Well, slipping's probably going to happen.
Okay. Oh yeah, good 100 mil.
Wow, can you believe this? We haven't had rain for probably 5 months. And everything is so dry, it's unbelievable. And now we have this storm that just like appeared.
It's only been like 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, and because the ground is so dry, nothing can absorb into it. So it's running over the top, and it's actually filling up our swale. Things are looking pretty good. So the level sill,
Yes.
you can see the water line is parallel to the sill mark, and you can just see the example of the water running over. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up that well, but the water running over the angle of the swale. And if you saw some of our previous videos, you would have noted that one of our downsides to building this was the angle was too steep. So we need to make less angle to slow that flow and erosion going into the swale.
I mean, that one's fairly even, but then you look at something like that. Look at that. See?
See those erosion marks?
Yeah.
On Yeah, and the pipe's working well. So the water level between this side and the other side of our driveway crossover is kind of equalising through that pipe we put in. I'm sorry folks, we are pumped about this because we went through a whole winter and it never filled up. And now we've had this brief storm, and the rain is actually easing off now. We've had this storm, and because everything is so dry and the water's running across the top, like I said, it's actually filled up our swale. And this is what it's about. Keeping water on your property. Don't let it run away. And you can even see on this crossover, the water running where I've been driving. There's like 2 impressions where the tyre tracks have been and the water running down. So that kind of makes me think that maybe we should alter the earth a little to try and make a little mound in front, going from this side over to that side. It's only a small mound to try and divert that water into either side of the swale rather than running through it. Things you learn when you experience it firsthand, here and now. I would go for a little dip, but someone put all this mulch in here, and if I go for a dip, I'll end up looking like the bloody swamp monster covered in bloody mulch all stuck to me. So, check out our swale. A summer storm has filled it with water. Unbelievable. Now this, on the right hand side of me, is our off-contour runoff ditch to divert water from going onto the house side of the driveway. So you can see here, it's actually flowing quite, it's flowing quite well. Probably a bit too fast. We have talked about putting some little rock barriers in here to slow it down. But then on my left, I've got stuck in the mud there.
Hey there folks, now this is where the audio gets even worse. So I'm just going to do a voiceover, but I did want you to see the transition between our off-contour drainage ditch into the swale. How it's flowing quite fast and then it just goes instantly calm once we're on that contour, and the water in that area is just level and has been slowly rising gently like a tide. It's even closer to the spillway.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Oh wow, yeah it is.
That's much closer.
Right, that's got to be another 100 mil.
Yeah.
And just to give you a sense of how quickly this happened, this was when it just first started, and I wanted to capture how that water started flooding over the surface of our backyard. Hey guys, I'm back and I've got Corey with me. Hey. So as promised, what we're going to do is go through your suggestions for our swale, your ideas.
Ooh, cute.
There was so many great ideas. Yeah, except for we asked the question and they gave us the answers. So many great ideas. True. I just wanted to pull some out of the comments so they're not all hidden in there and everybody gets to enjoy your great ideas. Okay, so you've just seen what our swale looks like during a rain event. Like, yes. End of summer, everything's dry, water's rushing over the surface, and everything filled up really, really quickly. Yep. And it's probably the closest we've seen our swale to full.
Oh, it's the most water ever.
Yeah.
In it, definitely.
So it didn't quite hit the overflow, but I mean, in an event like that, the swale had the capacity, but you did see how much water was flowing over the surface.
Yeah.
So, all right. We're going to go through some of these ideas. The Green Thumb artist suggested it does sound like multiple shallow swales would be good. It would give you a bigger growing area with the catchment. You'll get a better idea in winter. The funny thing is we found out like
at the end of summer.
Yeah, just so that was quite amusing when I was going back and reading that. So, I mean, looking at how the water was running across our backyard and even how it was running across the paddock into the swale. It
was like a sheet of water.
I mean, I could see how if you had like kind of smaller interruptions that in that situation it could have been...
Because we have always said, like, one of our sayings is slow the flow. So...
Well, it's Peter Andrews' saying.
You know what we mean. Right? So, yeah, if you had a small swale... Because we're just kind of... We're winging it. We've been talking, had a bit of a conversation about it. So if we had smaller swales, example, say, no more than a round number, 10 metres apart, then that would flow over the 10 metre of paddock, get caught in the small swale, and then that would absorb the water, and then you'd have another section into... I mean, it is a good idea, and obviously a smaller swale would be less labour intensive to dig. You know, you could probably almost just do that like with a bobcat, and just once you get the trench happening, just come in on the side and just push in like that on the angle. So I mean that is a good idea.
I mean, you could imagine if all of those successive small swales like filled up, and then that would have been sunk into the ground.
That's right.
There instead of running over the surface over the whole lot. Okay, so Shannon Sexton says, as long as the swale typically loses surface water in under 2 days, you should plant in the swale itself. Oh, this was regarding our question about whether we should plant like in the swale.
Oh, in the actual ditch bit. Yep.
So as long as the swale typically loses surface water in under 2 days. All right, so if it does, you should plant. Okay, so yeah, the water was gone out. That amount of water was gone out of the swale.
It was gone by the next morning.
Yeah,
and we went out there at about 6 o'clock that night, previous night, to film in the rain. So it wasn't even
like 12 hours.
12 to 15 hours, and it was gone.
Okay, and she also says pioneer trees, shrubs, as well as cover crops. And we've got pioneer trees in there. We just planted them as seedlings like last year when we first made, so they're still growing. They're still growing. We did cover crop. And we've got some shrubs in as well. So some of the ones that Shannon suggested was wattle, or that also known as acacia, Luciana, Tagasasti, and anything else that will grow, basically. Green matter, organic matter. Shannon thinks that the back slope is fine, might be fine as of yet, just mulch might be enough on it.
Oh, like the angle?
Oh, maybe mulch might be enough rather than planting the back slope.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And she thinks that it has been sized well, and we'd probably get away with a smaller upslope, or if placed closer together on the downslope.
Okay. Yeah.
And what's interesting is Three Rivers Forge replied to Shannon's comment as well and said, add kitty litter to bolster the soil's clay content. And I'm like, you've mentioned that a couple of times. So I did actually go and research like clay-based kitty litters.
Yeah.
And I found one at Big W, 15 kilos, $29, and it's actually made from Australian bentonite clay. Now, does bentonite clay sound familiar?
Yes,
it's that type of clay that people use to seal dams.
Wow.
And then I thought, okay, well, so what is the price of that bentonite from, say, like a non-kitty litter?
A big hardware chain?
Yeah. Like a dedicated bucket of bentonite, 10 kilos, $25 from like a hardware store. So.
And how much was the kitty litter?
15 kilos for $29.
Yeah, right, okay.
So kitty litter's better value.
Interesting.
So that is interesting. So that's a good tip.
Isn't it funny how you hear Like we know about products when it comes to, say, building trade, right? Like different products for different things. I would never even thought kitty litter would be like a clay-based option.
Well, I didn't think it would be actually bentonite clay.
You know,
like the bentonite clay.
Yeah.
Okay, so another suggestion from Three Rivers Forge was, instead of doing many small swales, to do lines of vetiver, V-E-T-I-V-E-R grass. Now, he related this to, I don't know if any of you guys watch Polyculture Farm, Ari from Polyculture Farm, who also has a dry lands like permaculture system, except for he's like an actual permaculture person and we're not.
Yep.
And across his paddocks, he did like wood contour lines, which is what Three Rivers Forge is mentioning. And but Three Rivers Forge is suggesting that particular type of grass because it sends down super deep roots. And he specified the sterile grass, and what that is it's a certain variety, or they've bred it to not
go to
seed.
Okay.
So it's non-invasive. And
so
it's actually used quite a lot in Australia.
Is that like a clumping grass? Like it'd clump and then, say, debris would get washed up against it to create its own little berm on the grass line? Is that...
Yeah, and it grows quite tall and the roots go down like metres.
I wonder if that would be like a green all year round thing, or green for most of the year.
That might be interesting in our like Beaver Dam areas, like our creek region areas as well, actually. Okay, so I think that means just Three Rivers Forge had a few suggestions there. So Faye from Canada suggested that with the swale and the berm, we need that to keep our farm from washing away during intense rain events.
Yeah, pretty much.
Your big swale should handle a 100-year event. Are you saying that should have been our goal for our big swale? Sometimes a normal rain would look puny and shallow, but that's okay. Yeah, that's true. You get to keep your dirt. It will be a challenge to truly assess the swale's effectiveness. Yes, until we have that kind of 100-year the event. Yeah. So I mean, but this was quite significant. That was a lot of rain in a short amount of time.
And it's been consistent. Like every year, we've had like 1 to 2 flood events every year since we've been here.
2021 was the worst, I think.
Yeah.
2021 was definitely the worst because we had like multiple really bad ones that year. I remember when we bought the place, I think the real estate agents said that creek had overflowed over the driveway before because we asked, and he goes, oh, the last time was like 4 years ago. It hardly ever happens. It's happened nearly every year since we've been here. So Eric Howling says, we just need more time for it to start working. Plant more shrubs and trees when the moisture allows. As trees grow, they will attract birds and other animals. They will make the swale work long term. And Eric is always the voice of reason. I think he's like an actual experienced horticulturalist type person. And we should listen to Eric more. So, but yes, we do need to be a lot more patient with the swale because it is working. We know that swales and all that sort of stuff is a long-term thing.
It's like a multi-year thing.
Yeah, but we're working on them over time. It's not like we could build the whole system in 1 year and then wait to see what happens, but we're building on over time. So if there is anything we can do like this year to enhance that, apart from extending it, which we're doing anyway. Yeah. But yes, thank you, Eric. We do need to be patient and let it work.
Patient young Padawan.
My Aussie Garden and Kitchen says yes, mulch. Yes, mulch. And he's a proponent of the tilt bucket. Yes, I am a
big fan of...
So Daz is just giving you permission to buy the tilt bucket.
Thank you, Daz. You just organise where that is, mate, and I'll pick it up.
Okay, let's see. What else have we got? Gypsy Heart Souls has also recommended a set of very small swales.
Yeah. Just on the small swale idea, I like the idea of like rows of trees.
Oh yeah.
You know, like if you're going to plant trees or shrubs on the small swales.
Yep.
I like the idea of, you know, 5 years down the track having like these rows that, you know, fill up with water, and you've got a row of trees, shade, birds, like, you know, I just, rather than one big swale with trees, you know, there's our one row of trees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, and I guess with that in mind, where we built that swale was, as you guys saw, was a continuation of that drainage ditch. Yeah, because that was just all coming out the end of it, the ditch, and creating a puddle, and we're like, well, that's where we should start the swale.
And that set the level, so obviously you follow the contour, and that's where it ended up.
Robin Todd was excited to see our swale video. Robin's a big fan of our swale. Also suggests doing more smaller swales and really like slowing that water down coming down the hill, which you would have seen in the video, really just running over that surface.
So that's a third person now.
Yes.
That suggested small swale. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. Robin's suggested a lot. Okay, as much as it looks dead, I would think for the natives to be alive still, there must be moisture down there somewhere. Yes, definitely is. Yep. It'll be interesting to go down and have like a proper look about which ones survived the summer and which ones didn't. Oh yes, planting things like watermelon, sweet potatoes, pumpkin will all run and cover the soil. That is a great idea.
Sorry.
My cat just
that was Amanda's cat.
She's not the most coordinated of cats. I was like, oh yes, so
she fell off the table.
That's a good idea for the sweet potatoes and just covering the soil.
Yeah.
She's alright. They always land on their feet, don't they?
Yeah. She's had plenty of practice at falling off things.
And let the dead stuff fall off those creepers and just stay there and becomes organic matter.
Yeah. To feed the swale.
Brazilian and Egyptian spinach. Oh, Egyptian spinach might be a good one.
Summer crops, yeah.
Robin said she might be able to send us down some. I might take up on that offer. Thank you, Robin. And please, please, please don't ever put in Luciana. I know it's a nitrogen fixer. Okay, so our goal is to, apart from kind of more annuals, like if we were to plant watermelons or sweet potato or something, is to have majority, like for the nitrogen fixers, for the pioneer species to be natives. And we've got so many acacias that are nitrogen fixers, it just seems almost unnecessary to like go outside of that and choose some of those admittedly more traditional, like permaculture pioneer species, but that are invasive or non-native to our area. Okay, and Robin's also suggesting doing some lasagna layering on our swale to help like retain that moisture.
Oh, that's good.
So I mean that we had a lot of mulch on there.
Yeah.
That's probably broken down quite a bit now. So, and again, Robin says the goal is to fill the swales with water long term. Yep, they're not water holding.
No.
Just to slow the flow, slow down the flow of the water on the property.
Yep.
So don't worry about it not filling up. So, all right, there we go. And she also said having those natives alive with no irrigation is all the proof I need to show you making good progress. Thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. Let's see.
Yeah, I didn't get around to running irrigation down there.
No. Francisca Bertram says that swales are usually oversized and made for those big, like 100-year rain events.
Yep.
Yeah, especially in areas where flooding is an issue, which we do have, obviously, as you saw, like flash flooding events. But she has seen a few people changing to smaller swales or leaky weirs after a while.
There's another one, Yvette Thompson. I'd say smaller swales would be the go. More efficient. More efficiency.
Yeah. And Francisca Franziska also said it's just the first year of this way. It will evolve. It will evolve, so stop being impatient. She didn't say stop being impatient, but...
No, you said that.
Yeah, I'm saying we should stop being impatient. We are patient, you know, we know things don't move too fast.
Yeah.
Yvette actually also asked if a machete or a slasher hand tool would work in summer to cut the bulk. The problem with that is it's still got an edge that could hit a rock.
Yeah.
So the safest bet is just to kind of leave it. Now, Three Rivers Forge has dropped like a link, and with some suggestions. He suggests that we fill the actual swale ditch with like lots of organic matter, build it up. Just, you know, get the compost in there no matter where it's coming from. And Three Rivers Forge also suggested doing the kitty litter clay to help retain the water just that little bit longer. All right, and that's... Oh yeah, he suggests the kitty litter there too. He suggests a 20% increase in the soil's clay content would go a long way to slowing the infiltration of water. And then the compost on top. You'd have a veritable lake in no time flat.
I want a lake.
Yeah, one day. All right, Kerry, and the last one, Kerry Taylor, mentions natural sequence farming, which is Peter Andrews. And we definitely watch a lot of Peter Andrews. That's what inspired us to do our leaky weir. And that kind of mantra of slow the flow. So I just want to bring that up, because if you haven't heard of Peter Andrews before and you're interested in land management, erosion management, water management on your property, if you're interested in permaculture, you're gonna like also love Peter Andrews' stuff. And she just double checked with me that we had heard of Jeff Lawton. Yes, definitely.
definitely heard of Jeff Lawton. And who's that other guy like Peter Andrews? Is he Peter Doherty?
Oh yeah, there's Peter Doherty as well. So he does some interesting stuff as well.
Yeah, he's very, very interesting as well.
Yeah. So yeah, Jeff Lawton, if you haven't watched him on YouTube and again you're interested in this stuff, he's like the go-to on YouTube for anything permaculture.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Kerry reminds us that nothing worth doing is easy, but you learn so much from trial and error. And she says thanks for being another place to learn from.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy for people to learn from our trial and errors and our mistakes and our successes.
As we watch and learn from others.
That's right.
You know, so
yeah, okay. Great. So that was really good advice from everyone.
Thank you.
And I think all of it was incredibly thoughtful, like specific to our situation. And I would be interested to see like your thoughts now that you've seen like a kind of rain event, what you think of your suggestion now. Like would you change it? Is there like another idea that you have? So that's great. And just so you know, I did end up deciding to put the creek flood, like the creek overflow, the creek crossing overflow onto a separate video. We'll just keep this one about Swale, so keep an eye out for that.
That makes sense.
And yeah.
Lovely.
Thanks guys, thanks for joining us. I hope you found that interesting. And yeah, as always, pop your
comments down there.
Pop your comments below. And I'll make an effort to reply to as many as I can.
Thanks guys.
Thanks guys.
See you later. See you on the next one. Bye bye.